The Canvas of Shadows, written by Reddit user Tootrotostop and narrated by Chadwick Polson. Edgar Crane sat hunched over his desk, the flickering glow of the computer screen casting shadows on the walls of his dimly lit study. The deadline loomed like a guillotine, and he was the hapless writer with his head on the block. 6 months had slipped through his fingers, evaporating like mist in the morning sun. 6 months of procrastination, of false starts, of staring at the blank screen until his eyes blurred and his mind turned to mush. The advance from his publisher had more than kept him. He had even managed to scrape out a research trip hiking in the wildest parts of the Carpathians. But now the well had run dry. His agent's calls grew more urgent, the editor's emails more terse. No more excuses, they said. No more extensions. The first draft was due in less than a week, and Edgar had nothing to show for it. Nothing except a dusty, threadbare journal, esoteric trinkets, and some exotic holiday snaps. He reached for the journal, the leather cover creaking as he opened it. The pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but the words were etched into his memory. A strange, forgotten religion, the journal claimed. An ancient cult that worshipped gods long dead, their names whispered only in the darkest corners of history. Edgar had stumbled upon the journal amongst the effects of an unknown occultist named Francis Barrett. Its spine cracked and its pages falling loose. The title was barely legible. Ritual and Lore from Beyond the Forest. The author chronicled rituals, incantations, and forbidden knowledge from across the Carpathians. Edgar had scoffed at first, dismissing it as the ramblings of a madman and nothing more than an initial stepping stone for the creation of his latest horror novel. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, he found himself drawn back to its pages. The journal spoke of mysterious obsidian tablets, Cernomicon totems to be precise, objects imbued with ancient power, conduits to realms beyond our own, totems that could unlock the door to true horror, the very birth of endless night, the Cinuvrium. Edgar had dismissed it all as nonsense until he stumbled upon the ruins. It happened during his trip deep in the Carpathian Mountains. He had followed a narrow trail, the trees closing in around him like gnarled fingers. The air grew colder, the light dimmer, and then the mountain opened itself to him and he saw them. The forgotten ruins. No doubt the landslide was caused by illegal logging which plagued the region, but somewhere deep inside Edgar, he knew this was no coincidence. The Dark Temple revealed itself, its stone ruins seeing daylight after its secrets had been buried for millennia. Edgar remembered the chill that had crept up his spine as he stood among those forgotten walls, the very stone pulsing with malevolence. Edgar snapped photos with his phone, capturing the eerie beauty of the place, but it was the 9 black stone tablets he found that intrigued him the most. Covered in mysterious symbols, they lay scattered among the ruins like pieces of a forgotten puzzle. He eyed them greedily, as if they had called to him. He picked them up, the weight of more than 2,000 years pressing against his palms. Now he stared over the top of his journal at those same mythic stones lined up on his desk. Francis Barrett had spent a lifetime chasing mere tales of Cernomicon totems, traveling from the east bank of the Danube to the shores of the Black Sea. Now, Edgar had spent the best part of 6 months staring at them, and couldn't even put together the opening line of a novel. Desperation drove Edgar to the internet, frantically Googling for story ideas, scouring forums, and reading obscure blogs. He eventually stumbled across an article in Newsweek titled, "I'm Making Thousands Using AI to Write Books." Edgar thought he'd found his solution. He was going to use AI to write his story for him. He initially tried the free AIs, but his basic prompts only yielded equally basic results. Despite the failure, Edgar saw potential, and he hungered for more. Further down the rabbit hole he fell. His search for more sophisticated and nefarious tools to fabricate his work took him to the dark web. He followed digital breadcrumbs, chasing whispers of forbidden knowledge. He delved deeper and deeper into the digital underworld where the boundaries of reality blurred. Then he found it. The whisper in the night, the dark web's elusive AI with a hunger for the forbidden. Nix Maluscriptor. He typed in the same prompts surrounding the Cernomicon totems, the forgotten temple deep in the Carpathians, the journal of the long-dead occultist, and becoming the midwife to the endless night, the Sunuvrium. But again, his basic prompts only yielded basic results. Frustration gnawed at him, desperation clawing at his chest. "What the hell do I need to do to get real horror out of you?" he typed. Nix Maluscriptor answered honestly. Nixethria totems, AI book lore. Please input real totems in order to generate real horror. A prompt window popped up allowing uploading of PDF, JPEG, GIF, TIFF, BMP, PNG, AAC, MP3, WAVE, AVI, MPEG, and SOL files. Edgar hadn't even heard of half the file types and had no idea what Nixethria totems were. He instinctively reached for the journal, leafing through its pages once more. The forgotten religion whispered deep in his soul, urging him to sacrifice something real. Then he picked up the dark obsidian tablets. Their ancient ruins seemed to writhe under his touch. He uploaded images of the black stones, malignant ruins, and the pages of the tormented journal. He pressed enter on Nix Maluscriptor's prompt window. The loading symbol began to spin for what seemed like an eternity. As the strange icon spun, a spectral hand traced an ice-cold finger up his spine. It was the same chill he felt deep in the Carpathian mountains. Then the lights flickered, and the ground shook. A single word appeared on the screen. Done. Edgar's heart raced as he slowly stood from his desk. He knew what had happened, but he couldn't believe it. His head swam as if on the verge of a faint. Inside his mind, he felt it. The door swinging open, the veil tearing asunder. He walked over to the front door and placed a deliberate hand on the handle. The brass was ice cold. The ground trembled again, and the walls cracked. He slowly turned the handle. The latch clicked. The deadline was now forgotten. The publisher's threats meaningless. The horror was real.